All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, we usually have a quorum. Excellent. Tam, if you want to get started, feel free.
All right, let's come to order then. Minutes. Does anybody have any concerns or corrections to the minutes? Hearing no corrections, we'll say that the minutes stand as read. Item 1, North Mendota Trail wayfinding,
Yeah.
and etc.
Yeah, and I want to start by saying I'm sorry I didn't get you materials sooner. There was actually, I was debating canceling the meeting, but then I thought let's press ahead because we need to keep going with stuff. A lot of things have changed in the last couple of days. I'll start by giving an update for the North Mendota Trail. We had a good meeting, we being the city administrator and I, and our city attorney with the county grants administrator, as well as the parks director, parks and land and water director. And verbally, they are going to grant an extension to our agreement to allow us to go forward beyond the end of this year to carry the project into next year. A couple of reasons for that. One, we still haven't resolved the final change order that you all discussed 2 months ago. So Alder and I, that's why you haven't seen it at finance yet, because we are with KL Engineering still negotiating with Badger. And so that I'm not convinced at this point. Well, we're trying to bring it to the council on December 19th, but it's been dragging, and I'll just leave it at that. Not for lack of effort. So that final pay request from Badgerland and some associated incidental expenses that we've accrued, we need to seek reimbursement from the county before the end of the year without getting this extended. So they are granting the extension. Verbally, they've done that. So that's your update there. As part of that project, we have wayfinding. The wayfinding signs we're required to install. And so I've talked about this with you in concept before. What I put in the packet was an example of some pages from the wayfinding manual that the county put together with local communities, myself included, 7 or 8 years ago. And I wasn't expecting you to read all this. I just wanted you to see that there was a rhyme and reason. There's intended to be a regional standard for bicycle wayfinding. And so late this afternoon, I had already put together an estimate and everything on paper, but what I did is I just uploaded this to the packet, so you probably didn't see it unless you just downloaded the packet right before the meeting. So this is what I'm envisioning as the type of signage using the Dane County wayfinding signs, the guidelines, the manual. This is the type of signage, pardon the cut and paste job, I couldn't match the color exactly, but that we would have along the North Mendota Trail. And these are just some examples of destinations, and that's what I wanted your input on just with the discussion tonight. I want to also show you the map that goes with this, which I had trouble, it wasn't easy to put in the packet, so I thought we'd just go through this. Wait a minute, it doesn't show, are you seeing the map on your screen?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't see my green outline now. All right, so basically imagine that you're at the corner of Century and Branch. Green is intended to be one of these North Mendota Trail signs. Ignore what's below it. Obviously, that will change depending on where it will be. So you get on this path at this point, and you have North Mendota Trail sign. In the other direction, what's meant to be in purple. So when you're leaving the trail, you're approaching the intersection. That's when you would see things like the Creek Corridor Trail, Conservancy. The arrows would change. Everything would be updated, obviously, appropriately. So then continuing east, I don't want to overdo the signs, so I'm just proposing a few here and there. So the orange is the trail. So then you get to the intersection of Century and Allen. Again, green as you're going west, and green on this side as you're going east would be the North Mendota Trail sign with, I was envisioning like a mileage sign below it, Mendota County Park, 1.2 miles, whatever it is, the other directions downtown Middleton. And then at this intersection with Marina Drive, I was envisioning simply having a sign that says Conservancy to the left, because as you may be aware, there's a trail access point here. So you get the idea. Up the hill, then inbound, you'd have the North Mendota Trail sign. There's already signs in place here directing people to, when they're leaving heading up the hill, to follow the bike route through this Cedar Ridge Trail, and there's on-street pavement markings. So those are already in place, and those are in green. And then when you return to the trail, I was not necessarily, well, yeah, I was thinking this would be another welcome. I put it on the wrong side, but I was thinking, again, North Mendota Trail is you're returning to it. And then once you cross Highway Q, the same thing. So anybody who enters this location. So it's pretty minimal effort, or a minimal wayfinding. I don't want to overdo it. I've looked at other trails in the area. You don't have to have these at every block. I don't think that's necessary. But just to help brand it and let people know where they are. I should mention that at the Allen Boulevard intersection, we are, I'll talk about this as the next item, but I think you all know this already. We are going to be, we'll have signs here that direct people to Madison. So that's where I was thinking we'd have, this would be a good example. So you're coming, you'd see the downtown Middleton sign straight ahead, downtown Madison left. And I also was thinking maybe calling this trail, never gets a name besides Allen Boulevard Trail. That's something else I want to discuss with you at some point. So we are going to have a trail as part of the budget for next year. We'll touch on that in a moment. That trail is going to come up to here. And then in a couple of years, we'll reconstruct the intersection. So we'll have that connection, better connection. So that's the concept. And cost-wise, it's a lot less than I originally expected. I got quotes from the Madison Sign Shop. The 24 by 24 signs are approximately $50. I was thinking we'd have our logo at the top, similar to what Fitchburg has done. Here's an example of signs in Fitchburg. I got their specs as well. So they have their logo. They have something at the top of their sign. Some of their signs that have Fitchburg. And no one is doing that for theirs, etc. So that's the concept. The cost is, oops, let me go back to what the cost was. Where did I put that? Oh, it's in the so $50 times 7 is $350, and then each of these 6-inch by 24-inch signs is $12.50. So reasonably modest cost. I was thinking the entire thing could be done for under $1,500, including design, because not much design is necessary. So that is my presentation. Kirsten. Sorry, Tad, I didn't mean to call on her.
Kirsten.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, so Mark, I heard you mention Allen Boulevard. The place that I see most people stopping, putting feet down and checking their phones or their maps is on Allen Boulevard heading north, where the trail currently ends. And I know you're going to be talking about that.
Yeah.
Before Harbor Athletic Club. Could we have a sign there with an arrow directing to the North Mendota Trail? That's where I see everybody getting extremely confused.
So one of the reasons why I've been putting this project off, two reasons actually. One is I wanted to see what the budget was at the end of the, after Badgerland got all their work done and we paid all the bills, and we do have a budget left. And also, and probably more importantly, I want to make sure that what we do along this trail is compatible with the vision that my colleague Parks Department has, Kylie, because we have obviously a lot of trails in the city, and she has been here for a year now, and I already have sat down with her and said, let's have a comprehensive look at our wayfinding signs in the city. She has some other ideas, and so we're trying to, come up with a consensus. We are obligated by the terms of the grant with the county to do this type of the green signs that you see on the screen, you know, to follow their standard, and she's aware of that. So I need to do this for the North Mendota Trail. I don't have budget right now to do this for any other part of the trail system, but obviously I'd like to work together, make sure all the naming conventions are the same, that we're using the same destinations, etc. So it's been a bigger project that because of competing other workload priorities, I've had to, you know, I've not prioritized as much, but she's aware of this project, and I think your suggestion, Kirsten, of a sign along the Elm Boulevard Trail, and maybe that even gets called something else. I reached out to Madison today and said, what do you call your trail along University Avenue? Because on one document it's called the University Avenue Trail. Well, maybe that should be called Lake Mendota Loop Trail, or, you know, who knows? So anyway, but I hear what you're saying, and we obviously need to do a better job with telling people that the North Mendota Trail is coming.
Yeah, a connector trail, I think, would be a good term for it. Whether it's the North Mendota Connector or something like that, but because it's only a mile long, I think connector trail would be good terminology.
Lisa?
Thanks. I just wanted to get clarification. I thought at first that Kirsten was saying have a sign on whatever the Allen Boulevard Trail is going to be called, pointing people in the direction, you know, to tell them the North Mendota Trail is ahead or north. And if that's what the sign is for, one, can't that be considered part of wayfinding for the North Mendota Trail? And even if it can't, two, how much is the sign going to cost? Like, can't we come up with the money?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm, you know, we're not spending a couple $100 on top of $1,000 sign order is incidental, and if we have to break out a few signs that aren't eligible for county reimbursement, so be it. I mean, that's obviously pretty minor. Whoops. So I had promised you this plan for a while, and I just haven't prioritized it. And I just wanted to get your feedback to see if you had any other ideas for destinations that we should be using along the trail corridor. Obviously, when you come from the east, you want to know where downtown Middleton is. When you get to Allen Boulevard, you want to, we're reminding people that's how you get to Madison. But otherwise, downtown Middleton is kind of the end point when you go west. Are there any other features in the city, or is there anything else we want to call out? Going the other direction, I was thinking Mendota County Park made sense. Ideally, we would say Governor Nelson, but that trail doesn't exist yet, so I didn't want to put that destination in. Since it was a county grant, I just thought, let's do Mendota County Park. People know that's on the eastern edge of the city. So I guess and then Conservancy and calling out to the access to the Conservancy, I thought was important. And then when you get to Branch Street, we'll have signs that say Conservancy going one direction and the Creek Corridor Trail going the other direction. And as well as a downtown Middleton sign would be there as well. So that's kind of what I was thinking.
Kirsten, did you have another question, or is your hand still just up from the first time?
I'm not seeing that my hand is still raised.
Okay.
I'll lower it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Lisa.
Thanks. Couple things. I think might be important to say Pheasant Branch Conservancy and Pheasant Branch Creek Corridor. I would bet the Friends of Pheasant Branch would feel the same way. I know there's not a lot of space. I personally am not a fan of the abbreviations. It took me a while to figure out what NBHD stood for. So just something to think about. If that's the standard, that's what we should follow. The other thing is, I think I would not include Middleton's logo, only because at some point in the future, who knows how soon, that logo could change. And then that's going to prompt replacement of the signs or having an old logo. So I think if Madison isn't, like I see the Fitchburg, that looks nice. Maybe they just came up with that logo. And there's no threat of having to replace signs, but just something to think about.
The idea behind these, behind the wayfinding manual was to recognize we need the desirability of standards, but also allow customization, for the jurisdiction. So that's why it was done the way it was. And yeah, some of the acronyms or the initials, I should say, are not entirely intuitive. If we added Pheasant Branch, we would then obviously have something like this. University Avenue Underpass would be 2 lines, no big deal. So I will make sure we add Conservancy to it.
I think it'd be fine to direct people to the Peanut Butter Conservancy.
Yeah, or PB Conservancy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought of PHBR, but no, at that point, just so. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think every unit is basically $12.50, so then it'd be a $25 sign. No big deal. And maybe we would do 1 too with downtown Middleton use crosswalk at Allen Boulevard. We'd probably do something like that. So some finesse. I don't have every single detail here for you tonight. And I didn't think that was necessary. I wanted to make sure you were comfortable with the concept, and I wanted the feedback on what type of destinations you wanted as we work to finalize the order.
Do we have any other destinations? Oh, Jim.
The question or one comment that I had is definitely like the destination distance on the signs, because too often you will see signs around that, say, hospital or library, and you have no idea how far away it is. So that was just my comment, that I think the mileage destination is a good idea.
I appreciate that. There are some people and some schools of thought that add a time as well. I very much do not like that, because who's to say who walks at what speed or uses a wheelchair or has a scooter or what have you. So I am very turned off by the idea of having.
I would be too. Yes.
I think some of our signs actually might have that now, but I know when that was being proposed, I've always have been discouraging that. People should know what they can do with the mode of transportation they're using and their abilities, how long it takes them to go 1 mile. Maybe they don't. And that's why some people suggest adding the time, but it's presumptuous to assume that somebody can make something in a certain time. How do others feel about the logo and the name? And Lisa, just to clarify, would you say Middleton at all on it? You just don't like the logo as much, or would you just not have that sign as part of it?
Well, if it's important to identify Middleton, I think that's fine. But I know I have heard conversations about the logo and possibly it changing in the next few years. That, just nobody's planning anything, but recognizing that logos do change. Ours has been around for a while. It just seems that, again, if Madison isn't putting it on theirs, then I don't know if we need to have either our name or our logo, but if putting our name on it is important for abiding by the standard, then we should do it.
Well, I don't think it's essential to have the community name on it. And the nice thing is about the way these are designed is they are individual panels. It's not all one big sign. It's so you can take pieces of it like Legos and swap things out. So even if we were to go ahead with this and have the logo on here, we're talking $12.50 for this panel. For what says Fitchburg is $12.50. So, but so that's why I wanted to see what you all thought. Is that kind of the consensus of the group, or how? What feed? It doesn't matter to me either way.
I like the logos, and like you said, I don't spending another $100 to replace 7 7 parts of the overall assembly 5 years down the road doesn't seem like such a big deal to me. I think that because we have relatively few signs too, that plays into it. We don't have the large amount of signs that Madison has for its 90 square miles. So, but I have to admit, I like it for aesthetic reasons, and I don't think the cost is prohibitive. So.
I think what I'll do is, if that's okay with you, Alder Hanairo, is now that we have some time to carry this project into the new year, obviously putting in signs this time of year isn't the most desirable task either. So I was planning to work this winter with Kylie on a more system-wide plan. I just want to make sure that the different departments are on the same page, and then ultimately the committees that they serve. So we don't have to make a decision on that tonight. I just was trying to get you to start thinking about this and getting your initial feedback for what staff should put together in a detailed proposal that we go out for, that we get a quote for. So,
Yeah, I'm not opposed to putting the logo on. I was just raising a potential cost issue. I know we're talking only about the North Mendota Trail, but I'm thinking we do have other trails and we have other wayfinding signs on those too. And I honestly don't know if we have our logo on those or not.
So Kylie is planning to replace or to basically come up with a new wayfinding plan because of maintenance and legibility and other reasons. I don't want to speak for her, but I know that that's been a priority. That's something she wants to tackle when she gets a chance. So this has been good. I mean, unless you have other feedback, I don't expect any. I mean, I just want to be aware of what we're doing, and it sounds like generally you're supportive, and I'll take it as that. If you have other ideas, feel free to let me know. And if you have any brilliant ideas for what to call the Allen Boulevard Trail, you can email me too. It's descriptive. It's the Allen Boulevard border, so it's fine.
Tom, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say these long names to the trail, I don't think are helpful for the person who uses the trail occasionally. But I think a destination like the county park or Madison or something that everybody knows kind of where it's ending or going towards would be more informative.
Right.
And with the mileage, I don't care one way or another about the logo. But I mean, it's okay either way on the logo in my mind. It doesn't cost much, but I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. And then the last thing related to this, I think I maybe already covered it. County grant, project closeout. Yeah. So they still had a little bit of cleanup to do. The sign at Dollar General just still is not the way it should be. So anyway, I guess I covered that already. That we're trying to close that out. So I don't really have anything else. Oh, I know, it was the easements. I guess I didn't technically list it on here, but okay, can we move to the next item, Ted?
Sure, let's move to the next item. Committee related projects and initiatives.
Yes, so I just wanted to give you a quick update. I was thinking this would be a short meeting. So the city council approved the budget back in on November 21st. And I just wanted to report to you, I don't see it online yet, the final version, but this I'm told is accurate. So the page 149 of recommended budget book showed the decisions that were made and funds allocated in both the planning and public works departments. It's where we find and parks has some as well. So I wasn't actually able to check with the Kylie and Parks about their projects because I wasn't as familiar with those, but I think the issue we want to focus on are planning and public works. So, multi-use path beside Allen Boulevard right here, that's approved in the budget for $300,000, which is design and construction. So that is a project for next year, and that's the extension that Kirsten was just mentioning, where it ends going up to Century Avenue. Here's now where I can talk about North Dakota Trail easements. So we are budgeting 50,000, and county is budgeting 50,000. Was part of the original $1 million that they granted to us to begin the process of acquiring easements from willing participants, from willing property owners. I've met with a couple of them already, and we have the next year to work on that project to get as many easements as we can. We think if everyone were to cooperate and if we paid them the same, we could do this for under $100,000. But I think that some people are not going to be amenable, but we're going to do the best we can. Cayuga Connector. This is that path from which we you may remember is connecting the roundabout at Parmenter Street. Right here, we'll have the path going along the east edge of the off-ramp and then hugging the DOT right away. Then here in blue is part of this path. They must have started drawing it once, and it would come out then by the fire station at Cayuga. So that's why we've been calling it the Cayuga Connector. DOT, I'm happy to report, I may have reported this previously, but they wrote back to me in late October and said they will work with us on this. They didn't say no, which was positive, but there's definitely a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross. So this budget item is for design, $70,000 for design. Probably kind of tight for that budget with what the DOT wants to do, but we're going to get a start and do the best we can for that. In the Public Works Department, Lake Street, or I'm sorry, let's start with Elmwood Avenue resurfacing. You've talked about this before. I'm sorry, I meant to start with Parmenter. So Parmenter north of Century to Greenbrier is on the list for next year, a very expensive project. We still don't have all the easements that we need or the land for the project to put in the full all the bicycle pedestrian facilities. I don't know the current status of that, other than Sean said that's still in progress. Elmwood Avenue resurfacing, that's the part between Parmenter and Bristol that hasn't been done. It's just continuing what was done this year. Lake Street reconstruction, $615,000. So the city council has approved a budget here to add, not just redo the street, but add sidewalk on hopefully both sides. We certainly are putting it on the north side. We're hoping to also put it on the south side, but there's some discussions with Harbor Athletic Club about that and impact on trees. That's we don't have to go into detail on it now, but I just wanted you to know that the apartment Lake 61 project that went in, put the sidewalk in, that's now in place right here, but we're missing still this segment here, and then we definitely want to put it on this side of the street, at least to the Harbor driveway. I'd like to go as far as we could, but obviously that's still to be determined. It's budgeted for this year. So Hampstead, Westfield, that's in Foxridge, resurfacing, that has sidewalks there, so I don't see any policy issues there. Franklin, reconstruction, Bristol to Bryant, that's something I'd like to bring to the committee early in the year to discuss design issues. That has been identified in our comprehensive plan as maybe there's a way we can make this more of a highlight this more as a complete street bicycle corridor, kind of similar to what Madison has with their bike boulevards. So that's something we'll want to weigh in on. That was authorized. That's a design only at this point. Up in Alder Hanaros neighborhood, the intersection of High Road and Bellefontaine will be reconstructed, and obviously we'll have crosswalks as part of that.
Actually, Mark.
Actually, that was not supported. Okay, I'm sorry. That
Right.
was not supported. I'm sorry about that. I misspoke.
That's okay.
Park in Elmwood. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit, Lisa. So that was authorized for $25,000 to study improvements at that intersection. Do you know anything else about that?
I don't know anything about that one.
Okay.
Other
And
than
then one of my favorite projects ongoing is the design of the Century Avenue Bridge replacement. I'm so excited about how that will come along and what that could mean, assuming it all gets designed, can be designed to have the path underneath Century Avenue. And then the last one I wanted to highlight is, let's see, Century Allen Lake Street intersection. So that's design work. That's a big one. And then RRFB, the rapid rectangular rapid flashing beacon. The council has allocated the acquisition of one at the location to be determined. It's my understanding, Alderman Nairo, that the hope is to add one of these in the budget every year and going forward. And then Tad, your LPI programming study has been budgeted for $20,000, and that includes both consultant reviewing the timing and coordination of all the signals and implementing and programming changes that come out of that study. So I saw a big thumbs up. So that's what I am aware of as projects for next year that are in the purview of this committee. I didn't mention transit at all. I will simply say that our bus shelters, the new ones, arrived today. They're not installed. They came in pieces. They had some assembly required, which was not the way we ordered them. So I think we'll probably have a shelter assembly party or something. I don't know. Kidding. But if you haven't noticed, we did move two shelters, two new locations in the past week. Early in the week, on Sunday, I noticed them actually at Century Avenue at Park Street, the one in front of MG&E, the substation there, and then in front of Quick Trip at Branch Street got put in there. Although I did notice that a glass pane was damaged. So I don't know if it came damaged or what happened, but the shelters are there. Those two ended up being a little bigger, so that didn't leave room for a bike rack next to them, but we will add another sidewalk square next year with our concrete project to make sure that there's room to add a bike rack in this location. So that's my update.
Mark,
Yeah.
I gotta put my hand up here. Mark, why on going back to 13 on the traffic calming on Elmwood Avenue, why didn't that pass? Item 13.
Yeah, I wasn't part of the budget discussions. I wasn't in most of the meetings or monitored most of them. Perhaps maybe Alderman Nairo can comment.
I can research that and get back to you. I mean, I can't remember every meeting that we've had and decision. I'm looking at the proposed decision item matrix, which was the mayor and the administrator and finance director going through the capital requests after our first budget meeting and making a recommendation. And that one is still showing on that document as approved. So I don't know if something happened after that to indicate that maybe it should wait until the next year. I will say the traffic signal LPI programming was marked on the decision item matrix as a no. And I advocated for putting it back in since the Ped Bike and Transit had specifically asked for that. So that's back in. And then the rectangular rapid flashing beacon, the TBD, again, I'll check the minutes or the video, I guess, and make sure. But I recall suggesting that the Ped Bike and Transit Committee should be the ones making a recommendation for where to put that. And council makes the final decision, but it seemed like since this committee is all about pedestrians and this is primarily to help pedestrians and bikes cross, I thought this committee would want to weigh in. But Ken,
I-
I will see if I can find out why that came out. If it came, I mean, anything that comes out of these lists usually just means it's gonna be the following year. We just didn't have, I think we were $1.5 million over on our requests from the city departments, so we had to cut some stuff, but I'll try to find out why that came out.
Because I know the residents were, quite concerned about that on Elmwood Avenue. That's just why I brought it up.
Jim?
I,
A few meetings ago, and I never remember what these signs are called, but they're the in-street ones, indicating that a pedestrian would be called crossing. And originally we were given the impression that the city had a couple of those. We made recommendations. The last we heard is that the city did not have any. Are any of those in the budget for next year? Or are we gonna rely on relocating existing ones?
Jim, I can check on that again. I know that some of them have been hit and got, so I presume some were damaged. I don't know if they've been replaced or not. Periodically, those things get hit because distracted driving or what have you. But I'll look into that again. I might have an email on that. I just don't remember how Sean responded, but I know that I don't believe there's a budget for that for next year. Something like that is pretty nominal, and there's probably a general budget that maybe some of those could be purchased. But especially if they've been damaged, there's probably a replacement ability with insurance, or I don't know how all that works. I don't deal with that sort of thing, but I will look into it.
Okay.
can I ask, when these projects are under construction, who's in charge of the safety for detours? I remember when the bike path was being built, in front of CVS and across Allen, and that whole sidewalk was closed down, and kids were basically on the curb, to get from point A to B without the sidewalk. They were out on Century Avenue on the curb.
Every project has a contractor, and they've got a set of standards that they're supposed to adhere to, and there's a construction phasing plan and signage plan, that sort of thing. There's a construction observer that's supposed to make sure that what's in the project manual gets implemented. I don't know how else to answer the question other than every project is supposed to be monitored for safety and have steps to protect and discourage people from walking where they shouldn't be. That doesn't often stop people. When the Conservancy flooded, bridges were cordoned off and people still crossed the bridges. So at some point there's only so much you can do. But what you're describing, Tom, I'm aware that sometimes contractors, and for that matter, city staff, probably aren't doing as good a job as they could to post detours, and that's something I'm sure we could all do better on, speaking for my colleagues and our contractors. So it varies by project manager, and by what's in the contract. I don't know how else to answer that.
So basically, there's no go-to person for that.
It would be Public Works. Your go-to person would be the Public Works Department for most of these projects. North Mendota Trail, that would have been me. It really should be ideally more people in Public Works, but sometimes projects go outside of that department.
It is public. Sorry.
You should always start with Public Works. Always start with Public Works.
Yeah, it definitely is Public Works. They do lack enforcement capabilities. Repeatedly during the construction of Beaver Brook, the detours were not posted until the very last second, and then I have to walk in Century Avenue. Construction workers blocked the bike lanes repeatedly with their cars. So I do think, I don't know that that's related to the budget, but
No, I'll follow up on that. I took
yeah,
that as a, and it's in the same category as Kirsten's, noticing that when there's debris and bike paths, it's the
doesn't
same
get cleaned
sort of thing we can and should be doing a better job. Yeah, it wasn't specifically it's not budget so much, but in the context of budgeting to make sure that we have safe construction zones as part of the budgets for the project. So that I don't have any other issues with their things to discuss with the budget. I just thought you would all be interested in a quick rundown of what was approved and what wasn't. My focus has been the zoning ordinance, bringing that to the finish line really close. So I'm really optimistic that in the new year we can roll up our sleeves and do more ped bike projects again. I want to get started on our active transportation plan, and that will be something we'll discuss in the next week. I don't have any other updates, and anybody have
do we have, yeah, do we have any future agenda items that people would like to discuss? Lisa.
I was just going to mention, I noted in the minutes that Jim had brought up something about the pedestrian.
the park plaza?
Yep,
Yep.
I just want to make sure that,
And Jim, well, go ahead, Jim. You can say what you told me the other day.
Okay, I had dropped that as an agenda item. There, and it was mainly what I was concerned about. I'm not looking for retrofits. Many of the strip malls are surrounded by curbs, and therefore there are not pedestrian entrances. But what I was wondering is, would that be covered in the future zoning ordinance? And Mark said that it would be. So that's why I dropped that as an agenda item.
okay, great, thanks.
Tom?
I don't have anything.
Oh, okay. If nobody, does anybody else have anything? Because I do have one thing. I believe he was a relatively new bus driver last night, and he neglected to stop at the Branch and Maywood four-way stop. If you've been there, driven that street in, a winter night, you know that it is not well lit. And then as I got off the bus and was walking, I really kind of forget this during the long summer evenings that don't get dark ever, but in the winter when it's dark at 5, Branch becomes kind of a black hole. And even the intersection of Century, which is supposed to be a major street in our city, and Branch, there were no lights on the pedestrian crossing of Branch, but there are lights for the cars to see each other. So obviously this is probably a long-term budget item, but I would like to start talking about improving pedestrian lighting around the city, specifically with a focus on winter activation. We kind of don't need it during the summer, but winter it'd be very nice.
I'm also concerned with lighting.
Okay. Pedestrian lighting, and you cited Branch Street as an example of problems.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have.
If nobody has anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I
Do I hear
second it.
all those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Have a
Thanks.
good
everybody.
December,
night.
everybody.